entertaining podcasts I listen to. I don't listen to many. That one, Francine, is a different point of view. It's a female point of view, but someone who's been through the hardcore wars.
Yes.
So what Francine has to say to me matters and is important. And there are two guys up in New York, Monte and the Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
I find them hugely entertaining. I find them fun to listen to. But those three are the only three podcasts really other than, the PW Insider stuff that I listen to at all.
All right, welcome back to the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling, Monte The Pharaoh, where we've got the future, we're going to call him, of pro wrestling. Kerry Morton. Kerry, how are you, buddy?
Guys, I'm doing great. I just watched your intro there for the first time, and that was incredible. Watching Marty Jannetty get on top of one of you guys. That was fantastic. Yeah. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. And by the way, it's right before Kerry got on, we didn't realize how good looking this guy is. So everybody watching, I've moved Pharaoh next to him, so I can't be judged at all, right? Holy shit, dude, you are one good looking guy. What's that all about? What the hell, man?
Well, man, I appreciate it. I thank you. Maybe it's a sign from my dad. Hopefully, I heard a couple times that he was an old stud, so maybe I got a little resemblance going on from there. So I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
Are you married?
A will get you far, right?
Are you married?
No ring on these fingers. No, not for me. Not for this.
That's what I'm talking about. So take advice from me, brother. Never get married. All right, just don't do it. Be done with it. Live your life. Dude, get the hookups. Do your deal, brother.
So far,
do your deal.
So far, so
That's
good.
That's great advice. Listen, I'm gonna note that one down. I appreciate that.
There you go. Yeah,
never get married.
He's gonna take notes from me, Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going on his phone. Duly noted. There we go. Oh, boy.
Hey,
all
listen,
right, well, why don't we just start? Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jimmy, at least I'll say I'm friends with Kerry Morton, and maybe I could get some hookups with some chicks, you know what I mean?
Oh, he's starting on you already.
I'm Kerry's...
Be wary.
I'm Kerry's... What do you want to, for lack of a better term, fluff man for Kerry? Like the
fluff man.
I'm the fluff man. I'm the fluff man for Kerry.
I like the fluff man. That's a good one. That's a good line right there. That's my fluff man, guys. Ladies, excuse me. Meet the fluff man. You got to talk to this guy first.
Let's talk to me first.
He's got to have a name. We'll call him Leftover Larry. All right.
Leftover Larry.
Unbelievable. Oh my God. Well, now that we've all made acquaintances, why don't we start at the obvious beginning? What is it like, obviously, growing up with having your father be who he is? I mean, what is that like?
Man, well, gentlemen, I should say this first. I should say that my dad is my hero, someone that I look up to and I admire. So I don't look at my dad necessarily as, obviously he is a WWE Hall of Famer and NWA Hall of Famer and every other promotion in existence probably in their Hall of Fame, some caliber or noted somewhere in their history books as the king of the independents. But that being said, it's awesome. It's incredible. He's someone that I look up to every day. I go to it for advice. So, when you ask me what's it like, being a son or whatnot, it's hard to answer because, I look up to him and he's someone that with me, I go to for the answers. And it's someone I get to share the road with. I get to share the stories with. I share the hotels room with as we're making towns together. And we have a great time. So it's all about having a good time. And that's something that he often reminds me is when the going gets tough, you know, you just got to keep on going. And that's something that I'm trying to remind myself too, is I've been on the road for a few weeks and I'm kind of getting that weary, tired downness, and I'm kind of getting a little burnt out, but it's just the beginning. And it's something that I have to love and I've learned to love. And I've not forced myself in anything. And that's something that he often reminds me about.
So I'm interested. You're saying that, right? So growing up as a younger guy and your father being on the road all the time, didn't you become weary about becoming a professional wrestler? Because, I'm assuming, Kerry, I don't know, that you didn't get a lot of dad time, right? Because that dude was a superstar, right?
Well, I could probably speak for my brothers and sisters, as they probably did not get a lot of dad time. Myself, I was the one that he was changing diapers at on the gimmick table while people and fans were buying 8x10s. I was with them every single weekend for years on out, going to every show that we possibly could. I was in the back seat, there was Bobby Eaton in the passenger seat, and my father driving the car, the old Oldsmobile. That's where we made towns every weekend. So, eating a bag of Doritos and enjoying a good old Diet Mountain Dew in the back seat, and then we're on to the road. So, I can speak for them, as they probably didn't get a lot of dad time. But myself, I was with them every day, and still, had my house across town, and he's still at my house every day sometimes. I don't know how it works out, but it works out for the best, to say the least. So, my friend, one of my best friends.
I think Dad's
Kerry,
trying
you're
to
very
get.
blessed.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
He's well, it's all timing with everything, and Kerry's very blessed. Like he said, the older kids would probably be able to answer that more accurately, but Kerry was blessed enough to be born in 2001. He's a young man, and he got to see much more of his father, because his father was at a different stage in his career. During the 80s and the 90s, sure, it must have been impossible to see his dad, I would think, on top of the game. So it's just a notation. Did you really know what you were getting into with the business? I mean, you did say that you got to spend lots of time and see the business, but did you know what you were getting into once you started to get into the business?
Absolutely. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is the professional wrestling business. There are so many different cords that are going into outlets. I had to learn every aspect of the game, to say the least. I had to learn to referee. I had to learn to commentate. I had to learn to sit in the crowd and watch the shows. I had to learn to sell merchandise. I had to learn to pop popcorn and put some salt in the popcorn so we can sell a few more drinks and make an extra couple of dollars in our pocket. I had to learn the whole 9 yards when it comes to professional wrestling. And that's something that I don't take for granted, because I wish other people had the position and the opportunity to learn what I had learned and had to go through, helping the boys set up the merchandise tables, putting the ring up, hundreds and hundreds of times, and I'm not exaggerating, putting the rings up, tearing the rings down, helping the boys get changed, carry their bags out to their car. That's what I did. And so that's the aspect that a lot of people, you don't see. And I don't have to see. In order to like me, you don't have to see all the things that I went through. You see what is presented in front of you. And, and something, I often tell, and I have a quote and I have a trademark, and it's on my hats and my merchandise, is they don't make them like this anymore. And I live by that wholeheartedly, because it's the truth. I've gone through the ups along with the downs, and that's the perks of professional wrestling. So when you have the highs, because brother, when you're hot, and when you're not, well, the rest of that.
Well, wait a minute. You were able to trademark that? That wasn't trademarked?
It wasn't trademarked. I have a trademark.
I don't believe that shit. I'm looking it up after this interview. I'm checking that. I'm going to the IS.
I think so. I don't know if it's approved just yet, but it should be approved just
yet. Oh, okay.
So Steve News on top of that.
I like it. Great. Listen, I gotta say, Kerry, though, a lot of the fans out there, they really, especially the feedback I've gotten about you, is that you're really this up and coming. How does that make you feel that you're getting this kind of attention? Can you hear me?
Yo.
That could be me. Jimmy, go ahead.
No, what happened?
Jimmy, go ahead.
Oh, are you shut down audio-wise? I got you. All right. Kerry, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think we had a battery thing real quickly. I think the battery might be. Sorry, I'm a little. We're kind of zooming this from the portable room real quickly, so lost a little connection there. But
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Sorry, fans, for out there that's listening to this live. Wait,
Hey!
we're having some difficulties real quickly. It's okay.
So, Kerry, the question I had, can you hear me, Kerry? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Question I had for you was, a lot of the fans, knowing this interview was coming up, were talking about you being the future of pro wrestling. How does that make you feel that you're being tagged with that as a tagline, that you've impressed so many people at such a young age?
Wow. Well, first and foremost, I think the word that comes to mind is humbled, as I do mean that wholeheartedly. Deep inside that mean asshole Kerry Morton that you see sometimes on the TV screen, I'm humbled because that means a lot. I don't. That the few into the literature, as I'm an English minor, I can go into it a little bit kind of farther with, but where I'm getting at is that is a big deal. Be called the future of professional wrestling, especially when you look at the roster and the crew that professional wrestling has to offer today. I was just looking at just a stacked number up and coming talent that are just tearing it up right now. So to be on that list is it's cool, and it's something I don't take for granted, and it makes me need to work harder. Instead of getting up a little bit more myself, there's always somebody out there that's better, and I'm willing to accept that, but I'm not going to let them just take it away.
Mike, real quick, I got to ask Kerry.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, being ranked in the PWI when we were kids. Now we go back to the golden age of professional wrestling magazines when we grew up. But what was it like for you even getting an award from PWI? Does it have that kind of impact nowadays, the pro wrestling and illustrated kind of deal with your generation? Because I know everything's digital now. That means a lot to be on that ranking. A lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I saw for years on end about the PWI, and it's neat. It's really neat to kind of be up there and among your peers, among your friends. As I look in that list, and obviously the goal for any professional wrestler, whether they're willing to admit it or not, is to be in that top 10.
Oh my
God,
that's
important. So that's something I have to strive for. I was just looking at the rankings of Cody Rhodes once more, which is just, absolutely what he's done is he's genuinely undeniable. He's the best, and so that's the goal. That's I'm chasing that now. I'm chasing. Okay, what can I do next year to top this year? What can I do to maybe get a little bit higher, without a launch one day. It's earning it, and that's something I'm about, earning it.
Well, Kerry, besides hanging out with your dad, right, when you started watching pro wrestling, what were you watching at the time? Obviously, WCW Nitro, or was it Attitude Era? What?
Well, I grew up in the back seat of the Oldsmobile, so I was watching the wrestling shows, the merchandise tables. I was watching. I was getting DVDs from WCW or Smoky Mountain Championship Wrestling or ECW or WWF at the time, their house shows. But a lot of it, I grew up in that 2003 WWE era. Man, Mysterio was starting to make his wrinkle on the scene, and the Hardy Boys. But that's a lot of the influence. I love that 2003 time period of WWE. The SmackDowns, the Raws, the Velocities, the everything in between. I watched it all. Something I love. I just love that time period of cruiserweights and whatnot. But now that I've gotten older and Crockett is something that I live, vicariously through. I'm watching the Midnight Express and the Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez, and Rick Rude, and the Rock and Roll Express, and Dusty, and Ric Flair. Like, I could just go on. Gina Hernandez, like, all this incredible talent. As you see me, and any fans that are listening to this right now, quote unquote wrestling moves that you'll see more. You know, the springboard suplex, the Luthez press, this power bomb, like superplexes, and like small things and calibers that you don't see nowadays. And that's something that's in modern day touch.
All right, well, now the interview will start getting a little tougher. I don't know how much you know about the show, but we're not like a fluff show. So I called myself the fluff man, but not a fluff. I'm going to ask you some tough questions here. And you mentioned Magnum TA, and I guess for the fans right now, is Powertown USA Wrestling, right? They make the figures. I believe your father signed a contract with them, and I know I would assume that most of their fans have not received these dolls, and the talent have not received pay. And we think here on the Monte The Pharaoh show that we should have an open, candid conversation about that, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that have been taken by your before mentioned Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, sir.
So, here's where I stand on that one too. And there was a photo floating around of myself and Magnum TA at the gathering this past August in Charlotte with said prototype figures. It's on the web somewhere. I've been in many group chats, many text messages from there. When I say this, I speak of this kindly. Magnum TA has a hand. It's the authenticity, or maybe the livelihood, I should say, of Greg Gagne. Now, I spoke to Greg Gagne multiple times. Anything that's Rock and Roll Express related comes to me. Kerry, I handle all the business for Robert, all the stuff, so I get to run it. It's part of having a business degree. That's what I do, not only for them, but for many other wrestlers, in which I won't disclose on here. But I had a conversation with Greg Gagne. There's, speaking for Robert and Ricky, have not seen action figures, and it makes me pissed off at this point, because the Greg Gagne conversation I had is word for word. This is what he said. I'm going to say this. I'm going to break news. This is probably going to hit some headlines or whatnot. Greg Gagne told me on the phone, and I'm going to say this, and he said, Kerry, you know why people don't have their action figures right now? I said, why? I said, Greg Gagne. He said, they want us to pay, quote unquote, a $500,000 tariff fee to get our figures off of a boat from China. This is what silly shit I'm being 100%. And I laughed on the phone. I had a short snuffle laugh, and I said, okay. And he said, I'll give you an update in 3 weeks. Mind you, that was 2.5 months ago when I had that set update from Greg Gagne. No text message, no nothing, no update. I love Magnum TA. It's a man that I respect so much, and I have no bad words to say. I don't really have any bad words to say about Greg Gagne. What I will say is, you ran a business, and you have to fulfill that duty of this business that you have with Powertown for Wrestling. Now, if you want the other Kerry to come out that says I have a degree in this, but I'm going to avoid that right now. And all I'm saying is, Greg, you need to make a statement in the next week regarding what's happening to these people. Or if I were these fans already, I'd be going to put disclaimers in their bank and trying to get their money back for what was spent.
So I know sometimes it's a tough conversation when it comes to friends of yours. In my opinion, so Magnum TA and Greg Gagne appeared on a show. I guess they have their own YouTube channel, and tried to explain their way out of it. So I myself am a director of operations, and I am a degree in business and logistics, and I know there's no such thing as a $500,000 tariff for plastic dolls. But going beyond that, sir, I think, and this is my opinion, if Magnum TA has his name on the product, or he should pull away from the entire company as a whole. And then my last question is, Powertown USA still continues to sell these items, pre-orders, on their website, even after they know after 2 years of having people's money that they're still taking their money.
Yeah. Business conduct. And the contract is now voided. I still am looking for Greg Gagne to compensate Ricky and Robert for the biggest, mind you, the biggest pre-sale in the history of Powertown action figures was Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express. See the book. I've asked for the book multiple times to see the numbers, but he said it's big. And however you decide, and this is word for word. I'm not putting any bluff onto this. I'm not putting any spill into this. If I need to call Greg Gagne up on the phone right now, I will. It's not a conversation I want to have. But based off the conversation, they've had the biggest pre-sale in history. And Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson are not compensated zero. And I think it's a bad look on those guys. So, when I'm looking out for my voice, the guys who I represent, like I said, if you need a sue, you got to call Steve News. So I'm maybe giving Steve a phone call this Monday morning about settling this up for us here soon.
Not to overkill the subject, but as a wrestler and as being part of the family, how does it feel that the wrestlers got worked by wrestlers?
I haven't defined it as work just yet. It's certainly something. There's some missteps and there's something that they're not telling us. I don't know if it's a work, and I wouldn't define it as a work. As you saw Powertown action figures live before, you saw the series that I'm looking right now on the screen, if I'm not mistaken. You've seen these said figures in person. Something's going on that they're not telling us. Have done something else with this said money, but they're not telling us fans about the property and our money that they have. So either a statement needs to come clean, or they need to be looking into legal actions of bankruptcy and refund everybody's money. That's how I would look at it.
A business observation, since you do have a business degree, where does this leave? Sounds to me like if they're not even going to pay the talent, where does this leave the customer right now? Limbo? Just limbo? Stand by? Please stand by?
So I haven't read any disclaimers on the website at Powertowns because I haven't put this much thought into it until now, because I've kind of let this gone by a little too much. But for a wrestling fan, you should read the disclaimers on the website. If there is non-refundable money and it's said on the website, even in small print somewhere out there, it is a disclaimer. So that means the fans may be out of luck with receiving any product or any money in said business. Now, I would like to look at the Powertown business as a unit. I don't know what it may be labeled as Powertown figures or if it's under a different label, but you could come to find the owners or the said shared owners of that property, and you can get into legal action there with them owing people certain money. And if people have the receipt of said figures or purchases they made, they may be compensated somehow 5, 10, 15 years down the road, give or take, if they're willing to spend $120 and bring it to the, United States judicial system, and however we go from there. So, there's a lot of different ways. You might be out of $150 or however you spent, which is sad. It's wholeheartedly sad. I would try to do something to myself and take over this business and help out, but I don't know what I'd be getting myself into. So it's something you got to leave it as it is. And I hope to have a word for somebody, but where I stand right now, there's nothing on my end.
I think the fans out there are shit out of luck. I think the fans are shit out of luck, and that's just the way it's going to have to be. I think you should stick to pro wrestling, though, sir. I think that would be the best decision, because getting involved, like trying to fix this thing, I think two guys got away with a lot of money. That's what I think.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I hope maybe Greg in the near future, maybe we give him a phone call tomorrow or before I get to the wrestling show, and maybe try and get to the bottom of this once more. But as of right now, there's a $500,000 tariff that's keeping them on a boat. so hey, I laughed out loud too, gentlemen. I laughed out loud too. Bunch of bullshit.
And we're pretty strict about who we let roll over here nowadays. So yeah, this could be an issue. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Talk to us about the NWA,
right
Kerry.
there.
How did you get involved in the NWA?
Let's see. I started wrestling full time, legitimately, in March of 2020, about a week prior to COVID-19 officially beginning the national pandemic of the United States, and well, we could say the world, going into quarantine. So what a great time to start my career. That being said, great timing. With that, when that happened, everything kind of went to a shutdown. Everyone went to a halt. Everyone went to their homes. So what happens there? You're on your phone, you're on entertainment, you're on streaming services, you're seeing what's going on in the world. And Billy had messaged my father about having me come in for an opportunity. And I came in there and I wrestled, I believe, Colby Carino. And they gave us more time than what we were allotted. Everybody else on that card, particularly, I think, if I'm not mistaken, right, everyone had like 5-minute matches. And Colby Carino and I went out there and we wrestled for 16 minutes TV time, which is so valuable in professional wrestling time. And we just tore it up. We had, first time Colby and I officially wrestled was at NWA in Atlanta, Georgia, at the studio. And we tore it up. 1-for-1, just going, wrestling, pure pro professional wrestling, Southern wrestling, I should mention. That being said, Billy took a liking to me. And, he, from there, he kind of kept me on board, which it's a blessing. It's a blessing to stay on board. I like the NWA. I'm happy to be there. My contract's coming up at the end of this year, and so we're seeing what happens in the next couple of months. Well, the next 2 months, I should say.
Is Billy
I know
worried?
the territory days are not,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Territory days are not what not what they were obviously back in the day. But has your career trajectory through? It seems like territories. Is this by design that you're doing this? Because you mentioned a lot of love for Southern wrestling. Obviously, you should have that with your genetics and stuff. Is this by design doing the territory thing, or do you have an ultimate end game to try to get to the Super Bowl of pro wrestling, which is the WWE?
It's funny that you mentioned that. I got a few text messages this week that I'll stay at that. But it's cool. It's obviously territory of professional wrestling. It's a great base, and NWA is something I will never speak ill on in my career as of right now, where I stand today on October the 2nd of 2025. I'm blessed. It's paid my mortgage. It's paid my bills at home, the National Wrestling Alliance, and it's something I don't take for granted. That being said, I would hope that there's opportunities and doors open for me elsewhere to go explore if that comes to that. I'm not saying that I'm going to be a homegrown NWA talent and stay there for the rest of my life, because I can't answer that. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll get the phone call and I'm no longer employed by the National Wrestling Alliance. So, it's the part of this game. You go with the ups along with the downs. So right now, all I can say is, one can dream, and I'm a dreamer. So, that's where hopefully hit a home run in the near future and continue winning some major leagues.
Well, I'm going to say this. Billy Corgan has done a really good job considering, what the competition he has out there. One thing I will ask you, though, did you think that Nick Aldis gave up on you guys too quickly when he left the NWA?
No, I don't think Nick Aldis ever, quote unquote, gave up. I think Nick Aldis believed in something that he stood for with both his feet on the ground, and that's where his decision standed. And now look at Nick Aldis. Being a great example in the professional wrestling industry, being not only an excellent wrestler, but now switching over to another side of of the ring on the microphone and being a general manager and rolling, this other said talent. What he's done is great. So I can't. And Nick Aldis was a big push for me to get signed at the NWA. Nick Aldis. I think after my match with Colby Carino, I walked backstage. I'm sweating. I'm out of breath. I'm drenched in sweat. However that may be. And Nick Aldis has given me a round of applause, standing up right here in Gorilla, clapping and smiling. And that's something that, Nick Aldis, it's not something he did often, very often at all. He never really put over that said talent because you had to earn it. You had to earn what he was out there. But, that being said, that was a huge push for me getting signed. That was a huge thing. You went straight to Billy and said, this is someone that you should build your company around going into the near future. And so to me, nothing against Nick Aldis at all. I mean, he was a big help to get me to where I am right now. He gave me a good plug and a good push. So I think where he went on to the, he saw an opportunity and he explored his options.
I think he's done a great job to boot where he's gone. He's done a great job. All right, let's make a left-hand turn. This business, especially when your father was back in the prime of it, has a lot of crazy things were ingested back in the day. A lot of drugs, obviously, all sorts of stuff. I mean, your pop is something known as a legendary partier. Let's keep this mild, folks at home. But do you think we've seen it destroy so many lives in the business with the drugs? Is it still like that now? Do you think that it possibly could have hurt your father's potential legacy, which is obviously still intact? But what's your observations on the drugs in general? Have you been able to avoid it? Is it still rampant like it used to be? Obviously, it was rampant back in the day. Any thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That was the 80s for you. That was the Crockett era in the 80s of professional wrestling. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You didn't have these smartphones to keep you busy all the time. You didn't have a computer. You didn't have Netflix at your expense, and you didn't have energy drinks. And those men had to stay awake for about 19 hours out of the day. So they relied on something that they had a little fun with, and to each their own. It's not my cup of coffee. It's not something that I indulge in. I might have a cold beer every once in a while and have a few drinks here and there. But other than that, that's kind of where I draw the line. But in today's age, it's not necessarily a thing. You obviously, me being me at 24 years old, I'm drug free when it comes to that. I take peptides. I take natural peptides. I inject them with a company called Cutting Edge Research. Shout out to them real quickly. Code Morton if you want to get some nice peptides in the future. Little cheap plug, but
cheap plug going on Monte The Pharaoh.
I'm all about trying to stay healthy, and that's something that we have to. I wrestle. I take bumps. These bumps adds up, especially when you're doing it 4 nights a week, every night. Bumps. Mind you, in the wrestling ring, not bumps elsewhere.
Kerry, do you have a sponsor with some blue pills, considering all the women are probably knocking at your door?
Not this young man. I don't have a hard time right now, baby. Hey, all night long, daddy.
Are they riding Space Mountain? You're ready to go, right?
All night long, sweetheart. Listen, you can't be first, but you can always be next. A little bit of old
news, sir. A little bit of old news. Rajah Jackson, we all know what happened there at that independent show. What was Kerry Morton's thoughts on after you saw that video?
The boys didn't stick up for the boys. That was my thought. Is when I say boys, I mean the wrestlers did not stick up for the other said wrestler. What happened in that wrestling ring was hard to watch. What happened prior to the wrestling ring was also hard to watch with this, this wrestler. I can't remember his name, Sergeant. Am I mistaken?
I think it was Psycho Stu, right?
Psycho Stu. I do not know Psycho Stu, so I'm not going to speak ill in this man. But what he did prior in this video segment of taking a can and crushing over his head, I think that was pretty pathetic and stupid, especially when there's no context and the Raj was unaware of what's going on, and you think he's a wrestler and he's some guy that was in the locker room that had no business being in the locker room in the first place. So the boys did not stick up for the boys. Godspeed, and to Stu as he's recovering, and thank goodness there was a great GoFundMe in which I donated, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, just to help a brother out, because the boys help the boys when we can, and I consider him one of the boys, and that's just how we roll. But with that being said, it was an awful accident. I think a lot of lessons were learned that night. I think a lot of two-side faces were revealed that night as well, with some backstage interviews and some stuff and some clips that I watched. I didn't put too much interest into this, but it was sad. It was a really sad moment, and I hope we can learn from this as a unit and the professional wrestling industry, and keep our business a little bit more tidy in the locker rooms.
Well said, sir. Passing of Hulk Hogan. Kerry Morton's thoughts on the passing of the iconic Hulk Hogan.
What a man he was. What a great man he was to me. And I can say this. I went down to Clearwater Beach, to his beach house. It was, just mind you, it was me. My father went a couple weeks prior for a wedding where Angelina and father got married. He was the best man, and they got to spend at Hogan's beach house. And just Hogan took so good care of my dad and EC3 and Fodder and Angelina Lauren from TNA Wrestling, and the whole wedding crew covered the tab at his own bar. Nobody spent a dime. It was incredible. To me, he was so kind to me. He signed me a pop figure like that I have in my house alongside my Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and they're all signed legitimately. And so that was cool, and it gave it to me in person. He was very kind to me, gave me some great advice, and we lost a legend, a hero, someone that immortalized professional wrestling.
Thoughts on the internet trying to cancel his legacy, tear him apart for either his past transgressions or political beliefs? Because they are trying to erase probably the most important figure in the history of the professional wrestling. What's on that?
Yeah, I think some things need to be left alone. And that's something that needs to be left alone. Is obviously, if you have an opinion about him, you can speak your opinion. That's that's the country that we live in. Is we can speak our opinion and be mattered of, and have free will. I should say that's what I'm getting at. So if you decide you speak your opinion ill on a dead man, then that's on you. But it's something I wouldn't tarnish his legacy. What he's done is great, and something that it's admirable from a professional wrestler to a professional wrestler. What he did outside of wrestling, well, I can't speak on that. But it's something I'm not going to speak bad about. I'm not going to speak ill on. He was a good man to me, and I'm taking my experience, and especially what I got to watch growing up in the backseat of an Oldsmobile, on a DVD player, watching Hulk Hogan and playing with his action figures in the living room floor. I can't speak. I can't speak big of the man. He's everything I thought he was, and a little bit more.
Kerry, do you think today's younger wrestler does not have enough respect for the history of wrestling, like the Rock and Roll Express, like the Midnight Express, like a Magnum TA, like a Greg Gagne?
Yes, but they're not taught that. So there's two sides. Yes, I feel like more younger professional wrestlers should know the history of wrestling. I was in the NWA locker room the other day, and we had some extra talent come in, and we mentioned something about a springboard suplex, and I call it the Tully. And they said, "What's a Tully, and who is Tully?" So I went on to talk about Tully Blanchard, and they did not know who Tully Blanchard was. Now, I did go a little off, but I immediately honed myself in because I realized that, I was fortunate enough to grow up in this business. I can answer all sides of the history of the legacy of professional wrestling just because it's something I truly love to study and watch and know and get, fill this little database upstairs of all kinds of this little small things.
Uh-oh. Little break up there. I think we might have lost him, Jimmy.
Okay.
We might have lost him.
We'll come back.
Can you hear me, Jimmy? You can hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine. You're just a little bit delayed. I think we lost him. Wow, what a great guest so far, man. What an intelligent young man. Forget about wrestling, dude. I'm thinking about society. With guys like this running around, you could kind of feel good about this country a little bit, right?
Yeah, we have some hope, if that's what you're getting at.
I'm just going to bounce him. Let me see if get him back in. No. Let's keep this going, Jimmy. So, what were your thoughts on him so far?
Well, I stand very corrected. We had talked about it off the air. I honestly didn't think that he really would know much about whatever his father's dealings with Powertown was, and apparently I stand very corrected. Not only is he involved, but he's very involved, and he's as upset as you are about it, if not more, when you think about it.
Well, I appreciate the fact that he, that he actually spoke about it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Clearly, instead of commenting it, he went through with it. And you know what? I think as fans and as business people, right? You got to respect that kind of candid conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very surprised by it. I'm also glad that he thinks highly of the Hulkster. That's nice that Hogan. I'm not surprised to hear once again that Hogan was kind within the circle. You know, he was good to that young man. Obviously, that's awesome.
Well, again, I think he's a pro. He's from a family of pro wrestlers, right? And
right, yeah,
he's from a family of pro wrestlers, right? So, he knows the legacy of pro wrestling. I mean, forget. I think he said it right. Whatever you feel, your feelings are about what Hogan said on his personal life or anything like that. You keep that to yourself. Mm-hmm. But as far as a wrestler, how could you deny the legacy?
Right. Completely agree. It's a shame that we've lost him here because we still had some more good stuff too. By the way, he's a real gentleman, this kid. I wanted to ask him if it's easier for him to sort through the weeds of promoters when he has the his father within reach. Because like the whole Raja situation, that promoter, I blame the promoter even more than the boys, like not having their shit together. You can't send that guy out there after that beer can incident. You can't do it, So I wonder if it's easier for with him as he's been going through this journey to deal with badass, awful promoters, and we know there's plenty of them out there that are.
No, I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I think a lot definitely has to do with the promoter, right? Up here's Kerry's back. I knew he'd be back. Can you hear us, Kerry? You're back.
I can hear you.
Just got to spin around. There you go. Do the spin around.
There we are. Can you hear me, gentlemen?
Yep, you're good to go, sir. You're good to go.
All right. Sorry, we were doing another and it died. So apologize. We're back on. I'm on my phone.
It's all good.
We're in business.
It's all good. So, Kerry, I was going to ask you. We were talking about when you bounced off. Jimmy and I were talking about how impressive you are. Just forget about wrestling. For older statesmen like Jimmy and myself, it's good to see such intelligent young people growing. Elder, okay, thank you. Growing. I have faith now in this country a little bit, right? So, but I'm going to ask you, where do you think the Rock and Roll Express rank as greatest tag teams?
It's funny, and are you a bias, give or take, because it is my father and Ricky, and from the opinions of others. But I would certainly say in the top 5 of all tag teams of all time. And I'm in because they were innovators. They were someone that was so different, but a good different. And I say that as I go back and I watch the history and the wrestling and popping the territories and the attendance records that they broke and that are still unbeatable to this day in professional wrestling, aside from WrestleMania or WWE. But no other show, from that platform can do that. So it's something I would say certainly top five list up there.
Mike, without them, there is no Hardy Boys, there is no Edge and Christian, and there's no Young Bucks today. They're the blueprint.
Well, I appreciate it, really. Hell of a comment there to them. I know they'd appreciate that too.
That is a hell of a comment. Did you did you grow up around Robert Gibson at all, Kerry?
I did, yeah. Uncle Hoots. I just spoke to him on the phone call coming here to where I'm at here in Knoxville, Tennessee tonight. So yeah, I speak to Robert all the time. It's someone that helps me a lot in my career. We just tag teamed this past weekend in Dayton, Ohio. It was Ricky, Robert, and myself versus a young tag team in the Ohio, Pennsylvania area region. And it was great, great. We had a fun time. We enjoyed, we laughed. Rhino was there, Heath Slater, Shane Douglas, Sandman. Just a hell of a time. Fun. We all laughed, enjoyed ourselves, had good company this past weekend. So, yeah, Uncle Hoot.
Well, more importantly, is it true that Robert Gibson's well endowed as he's claimed to be?
Listen, I could
I
think
thought
I
he was
could.
calling him Uncle Huge.
Wait, he's got to answer the question,
Ahead,
Jimmy. I got to
Kerry.
hear this.
I digress.
Listen, when you can wrap it around your wrist twice, I mean, that's it. That's all I got to say.
That's all you got to say. Not bad.
That's a hell of a locker room talent. Hey, kid. Well, not kid. Don't take that figuratively, not literally. Hey, kid. Look over here. What time is it? It's wrapped around his wrist twice. That's something. That's cool.
You're like, whoa, it's not too bad. Not
What
bad
the
at all.
hell? That's 60, whatever he is, 67, 66 years old. That old ass. Old dinosaur.
Poor
Dinosaurs.
Kerry. He thought this was just going to be a straight up like pro wrestling, one of those pro wrestling interviews. Meanwhile, he's talking about Gibson's penis. So
my uncle requires 2 lockers. Sorry.
Kerry, talk to me about some of the talent in the NWA that you're impressed with. We got Baby Doll's daughter over there now. She's fantastic, right? You got Tiffany Nieves. Am I saying it? Nieves, correct?
Nieves.
Yeah.
Unbelievable talent. We had her on the show. My God, what kind of mic work does that girl have? Unreal, right?
Great talent. That's someone I would put over on the top of my list. Probably first and foremost is Tiffany Nieves. Great, wonderful talent. She has earned her stripes very quickly in the National Wrestling Alliance. She's always hungry and wanting more knowledge. I see her picking the brains of everybody. Mind me, I'm in the locker room always picking the boys' thoughts and minds, and I'm kind of the laugh and smile of the locker room, I'd like to think to myself. But I look over and she's always just, soaking up knowledge. So great talent there. There's some good up and coming young talent that we have that is really starting to catch their waves. The Slime Balls is someone I will go out of my way to put over right now. Tommy and Sage out of New York, but just and I say this with respect for them, is they've got something, and they know that they got something. They're aware of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean that's the names that come to me. I can speak on my crew: Silas Mason, Alex Taylor, the Southern Six, along with myself. I'd put us obviously at number 1 because we are who we are. But homegrown NWA talent. We bust our asses. We make it a point to have the best matches of the night. We have good locker room leaders with Tom Latimer and EC3, and so we have some really good cats in the NWA, and it's been a joy to be there.
So let me ask you this: is it hard to stay away from romantic relationships within the world of professional wrestling, considering you're around each other quite often?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I don't even know if I could answer that properly. I dated in professional wrestling before with a female companion. That was great, and also another wrestler, and she was awesome. And it's tough because you're on the road so much and you're relatable to one another because they know what it takes to do what you got to do. The road trips, sleeping in nasty ass hotel rooms, and shower when you can, go to the lift, trying to eat properly, put on a smile, make sure you're doing the whole 9. I can go on and on, but where I'm getting at is yeah, you're seeing it more commonly now. I see a lot of the guys and the girls are mending with each other. Coming from a collegiate background in cheerleading, national champion, by the way, All-American, but who's saying whatever. Who cares? Anyhow,
Yeah, right.
whatever. Who cares? All American.
Whatever.
I have a ring. I have a ring in my house.
Business degree, all American, top
All
pro wrestler.
American,
What the
American.
hell? Gets every woman in the world. Forget it. Don't worry about it.
But I always made it the point, and this is something I said. I always made it the point that this is business. This is my job. So I do not date in my job. Like, well, I'm speaking for my cheerleaders. In the same way, I kind of look in wrestling. You know, the girls are very beautiful, yeah, and they're my friends for the most part, and that's kind of where I stand at it. That's my business partner, and that's not my companion or someone that I want to have, a relationship with outside of what we already have itself. And that's kind of where I have to stand my ground on that. And I try to tell some of the other boys, and it goes out in one ear and out the other, and some of them it sticks with.
Another tough question for you, man.
Translation.
Go ahead,
Translation,
Jim.
don't shit where you eat. Go ahead.
That's it. Don't shit where you eat. Yeah.
Look at that. Vince McMahon, should he be washed away from professional wrestling considering the allegation against him? And we're Vince McMahon guys here. Everybody knows that who watches the show, right? And, we're believers in you're guilty until proven, innocent until proven guilty. Oh my God, I can't believe I reversed that. So anyway, your thoughts on that, Kerry?
I don't think he should be erased from professional wrestling. The allegations are out there. Everyone has already formed their opinion. They're going to state their opinion, and they're going to live by that opinion vicariously through a keyboard online. So you're always going to see that. You're going to read it. You're going to see what's happening. I'm aware of what has happened. It's something I don't condemn. I don't necessarily care for, but you can't erase what he has built and the legacy of professional wrestling. Building up a company and selling it for $9.9 billion is that's in like the epitome of the word incredible. Like it's awesome. It's cool to see someone of that caliber do something like that. So you can't erase him from history. It's Vince McMahon. He has made many of stars and have made every talent that is with the WWE rich. And so, that's if these boys that worked for WWE prior and worked for 10 or 12 or 15 plus years want to speak ill on a man that made them rich and provided them homes and lots of money that guys like I would kill to have, then that's on them. But at the end of the day, look who made you rich, look who made you all this money, and look who got you the fame to where you're at right now.
And he always delivered his dolls on time. When you ordered them, they always came in on time.
You're darn right about that.
There was no $500 tariff on the There was no $500,000 tariff on the WWE. So
no $500,000 tariff. No.
So Jimmy and I were speaking about this. Being, again, it's great. You got this popular life, good-looking guy. Here's a couple of questions, though. How do you feel about the fans infringing on your personal time? You read a lot of the dirt sheets where wrestlers are coming out saying, hey, our time is our time. What are your thoughts about that whole scenario? Like a Rhea Ripley or, whoever.
It's tough because we're all so alike yet different, with how interactions happen in the crowd. It's cool. I was in the airport the other day and it makes me think I'm doing something right when I'm not recognized once, but I'm recognized multiple times. At the gate, someone asked me to come sign something for them. Like I had 8x10s in my bag and I just pulled an 8x10 out and just signed it for them there. I wasn't going to sign a napkin. Like I look at it differently because, without these people, I wouldn't be who I am. Maybe I might think differently in the years upcoming, but right now, like I'm grateful. I'm grateful that this little boy or little girl that wants to take a photo of me, or this grown man, that's wearing a wrestling T-shirt, recognized me and wants to take a photo, or wants me to give him a shout out on a video, or tell him that he sucks ass or whatever. I decided to say, whatever Kerry he wants. If he wants the bad Kerry, if he wants the mediocre Kerry, the good Kerry, it's one of the, it's neat. So everyone has their different opinions on it. For me, the only thing I ask you not to do is, and which has happened more than once, is come to my house, or come to my family's house. That's something that's a no-go. That's our personal spot. But aside from that, if I'm eating dinner, if I'm done with my dinner, yeah, come up and say hi to me. Like that doesn't matter.
Can I ask you about that? Can I ask you about that? Can you tell the story? Someone actually came to your house. Like what goes on there?
There's someone came to my house. I was I was about to mow grass. It was early in the morning. A car pulls up, and not recognizing the car, I'm looking from the side of my gate, but they're like kind of, eyeing up and seeing, like, they grab this packet from what I recall and come knock on my door. And sure enough, I go through the front door and answer it from the front door. And it's a wrestling fan. Like, hey, man, I heard you up here. Can you sign all this stuff for me? And I was like, no. Like immediately I was like, it turned into a real asshole. They probably don't want to see it, but it was, yeah. I mean, that's happened. There's been many of fans, women, older women that showed up for my father. Lots of fan mail, which is cool. Fan mail's fine, but like, when you show up in person, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, there's wait, Jimmy, I got to tell you something. I don't know if you heard him, but he was mowing his lawn, which I got to tell you something. That's been like a big pet peeve of me, because I always say on the show, I'll be like, do you think Greg Valentine ever mowed his lawn? So finally, again, you have proven to me that the youth of this nation is strong.
Hello?
I'm loving it right now. So there we go. All right, Kerry, I want to be we're close to time on the interview. I want to thank you for taking the time out. I do want to just ask you this one final question. With the internet nowadays, everybody's got an opinion. And, can you hear me? You good? You can't hear me? No good? No, it's lost me. All right, hold on. How about now? Can you hear me now?
There he is, but I can't hear him.
Can't hear me. Oh, no. All right. Let's try this again. Nope, no good. All right, Kerry, I'm going to do sign language. I know you can't hear me, so I'm going to let you go. You go. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Exit it and come back in?
Yeah, maybe.
Can I hear you? Can you hear me? Oh, I was exiting out. All right, so we're having massive problems between Kerry and Jimmy. Jimmy keeps popping out too. He must be having internet problems. So I want to continue on to say, are you there?
I'm there. I can hear you guys now. Something would happen.
No problem. No problem. So I want to be respectful of your time. I just have like one other question I want to ask you. Being a pro wrestler in today's internet world, where everybody's got an opinion, I always think about the women who have to go out there and, wear their outfits, and the judgment is there. As a man, how does that feel also, that you have to put your body out there all the time, always trying to look your best? The stress, is the stress incredible, or what does it feel like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a great question to actually wrap it up too, because this is something that just clicked with me, and this is within probably the past 2 months, probably clicked with me, is I looked at professional wrestling as I'm a wrestler. I will look the way I look, and I'll perform the way I perform, and that's that. I now look at this business as, yes, I'm a professional wrestler. Yes, I can do this, but I'm also in the aesthetic business, and those consequences will always weigh up. Whether, deciding what I am eating on a daily basis is something you always got to think. I got to go out there and perform in baby oil and spandex, and hopefully have a nice tan, and hopefully not have a beer gut or a beer belly, or have be bloated, or have some definition and have some good muscle mass or whatever. It's something I think about all the time. Body dysmorphia is certainly a thing, and it's something I think not only myself, but every performer that is out there, it's something that we battle with, and it's a ever going battle. So I'm speaking for the women especially. It's always certain for them to, like in this aesthetic business, to look the part and always to put on a face full of makeup, and it's certainly more tough for them than it is us wrestlers and us guys that is a little bit easy going. But it's an aesthetic business, and that's what professional wrestling has turned to in 2025. So it's something I have to weigh the consequences, and I have to think about all the time. Whether I go tomorrow morning, I wake up in bed in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and I go to decide to get some pancakes and realize that I have to wrestle later on in the night, how I'm going to look.
Kerry Morton, the future of professional wrestling. We look forward to seeing you in the NWA, and we're certainly, again, not that you want to leave the NWA, but we certainly will be seeing you either at AEW and hopefully the WWE, because you got it, buddy, and the fans know it. So thank you again for joining the Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. You are an incredible man. Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, thank you. I enjoyed the conversation with you guys. You'll probably see another asshole Kerry that looks just like me on your TV screen in the near future, but that's not me. That's another Kerry. So I appreciate the conversation, guys. Thank you.
Be well. Be well. Jimmy, Kerry Morton, final words.
I don't know. Am I here? I got bounced like a basketball for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, what's going on, dude? The internet.
I have no idea.
He fell off too. He fell off
did.
twice too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I thought he was great from what I got to talk. At least there was 40 minutes straight of smooth sailing. Wonderful kid. Head screwed on straight. Was shocked that he knew that, his involvement with getting hopefully not ripped off in the end, but it sure looks like it with the Powertown thing, and he's got his head screwed on right. So it's refreshing, bright young man, bright future ahead of him.
With that, Jimmy, I want to thank you for another great Thursday. We got to catch the Yankee game. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, this is Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, also known as the Howard Stern of pro wrestling. Want to remind everybody again, 500 level code MP30 for 30% off. That's 30% off the clothing. Catch us next week. And then I think we have Al Perez coming in soon, right, my friend?
He's still around the corner.
And we have the big event coming up, which me and Jimmy will be live in studio. So for that weekend, we'll be in studio doing quite a few interviews.
Right.
Not sure if we're going to go live with those, Jimmy, or just tape them and then upload them, depending. Right. We have to discuss what you think is the better plan there,
Gotcha.
Considering maybe the studio we have to go to. But besides that, Kerry Morton, pretty fucking impressive, dude. That's all I got to say.
Yep. Excellent. Another one for the books.
And real quick, Wisteria Hall, anything new coming up with Wisteria Hall? Is the video done yet? What's the deal?
No, video's not done yet, but, slow and steady wins the race. Stay tuned. It's coming.
All right, brother, send us out.
You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh with Kerry Morton. And until next time, later.